Folks, today we're going to be taking a look at the game Cytosis from Genius Games. This is a cell-themed game, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be placing flasks and collecting resources, and you're going to be trying to score points by playing different cards. So let's take a look at it. Okay, everybody, I'm going to be doing the two-player board on this side. There's a three-player and more board on the other side, and it just has more of these spaces on there, just a couple of rule modifications. But I'm going to go ahead and do this version. Anyway, we'll go ahead and start with the board. Right over here you have a score tracker here on the end, and in the middle over here this is going to represent a cell, and there's a whole bunch of these different spaces over here where you're going to be able to place your flasks. Now this is a worker placement game, so throughout the game wherever you place your flask you're going to go ahead and carry out its action and collect resources and etc. Right over here we have goal cards, and you're going to be gaining points if by the end of the game you're able to complete these different goals. You can place a marker here, which if you're the first person to do that you'll get a bonus 3 points, or you can get one here which you will basically get the goal points if you're able to meet them. Now once you put a marker on these they cannot be moved. Right over here are what are called events cards, and each round you're going to be turning one of these cards over, and these are essentially going to be adding extra resources to different spots on the board. Here's one that says add a carbohydrate. Here's another one that says component cards cost 1 less ATP, which are these. Here's another one that says add additional ATP. These are the cell component cards, and this is going to be the main way you're going to be scoring points in this game. You got several different types, like you got steroid hormone, you've got enzyme cards, you've got protein hormone cards. And the way you're going to be scoring points in this game is you're going to basically be paying the cost of whatever this card is. In this case, it's going to be 2 of these red cubes and then one of these things called ATP. And then you'll go ahead and score the points by doing that. And there's several different ways you can score, and I'll show you how that works. Right over here are all of your resources. You have what are called ATP, and this kind of works as money. You have the black mRNA cubes, red protein cubes, yellow lipid cubes, and then green carb cubes. Now right over here, this is the first player marker, and this is going to allow you to play first on the next round, so long as you have this. You also have 4 flasks that you're going to be able to use to place over here on the board to collect the resources. And then you also have these little markers. You've got a couple of markers over here that are going to be on the score tracker, but these markers are going to be mainly placed here on the goals. So you'll have up to 2 markers that you'll be able to play on 2 separate cards. Now in the very beginning of the game, everyone's going to receive 3 of these cards, and then you're going to keep 2 of them, and the other one you're going to go ahead and discard. Now right over here you have a track that's got 4 different cell component cards on there, and throughout the game this is going to change. You'll be able to use one of your flasks to go ahead and buy one of these cards to put in your hand. This one is free. This one costs 1 ATP, this 2, and this 3. And throughout the game you're going to be taking cards out and then shifting them over and then adding new cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the different spaces here on the board where you can play your flask. If you play your flask here in the free ribosome area, this is going to allow you to trade any black cubes you would like for red cubes. If you play it over here in the gray flask, you will pay 4 ATP, and this is going to allow you to take a gray flask and place it anywhere here on the board where there is an open space. So essentially you're going to get an extra flask on that particular turn. And then after you play that gray flask, you'll go ahead and play your regular flask somewhere. This is laureates in biology, I believe that's how it's pronounced. If you place a flask there, this will allow you to take the first player marker, also allow you to play one of your little goal marker pieces here on one of these goals, so you could do something like that. Over here is the nucleus. This is going to give you 3 black cubes. Down here, this is the smooth ER, and there's a couple of sections for this. This is the lipid synthesis. If you play one there, this is going to give you 3 yellow cubes. If you play one over here, this is going to allow you to do either alcohol detoxification. You'll just simply pay this cost, and this will allow you to gain 1 health. Now there's also some extra scoring conditions that I'll talk about here in a little bit. Or it will allow you to do the steroid hormone synthesis, which I'll talk about here in just a little bit. Right over here is the mitochondria. You've got 2 spaces on this one. This gives you ATP. If you place a flask there, that will give you 3 ATP. If you manage to place a flask over here, after this one has been covered up and someone else plays one here, you will be able to go ahead and trade in a green cube for 6 ATP. This is the glucose transporter over here. This will allow you to trade in 2 ATP to get 2 of the carbohydrate cubes. And then right over here is the cytoplasm. This is going to allow you to play one of these enzyme cards. You will just simply pay the cost on the enzyme card, and then you'll go ahead and play it, and then you will be able to get that amount of health. Now over here we have steroid hormone synthesis. So this is a typical steroid hormone card over here. What you're going to be doing is you're going to place what is called your glucose transporter on one of these spaces, and then any yellow cubes that you have, you're going to go ahead and place on there, so like so. On a future turn, you'll be able to place another flask here on what is called the Golgi apparatus. And then you'll go ahead and move your transporter down like so, and then you're going to go ahead and add a carb cube from your pile onto the transporter like so. And then finally, on one more future turn, you'll be able to play something here on what is called the exocytosis plasma membrane. You'll move it down one more time, and then you will go ahead and lay this card down and play it, and pay. You'll take the cubes off of the transporter and then pay this amount of ATP, and then you will go ahead and get this amount of health points. And then of course we have the rough ER, which is going to be for the protein synthesis. If you decide to play a flask over here, you're going to go ahead and place your transporter on one of these spots. And then you're going to look at the card, and you're going to go ahead and trade in any amount of black cubes to get a red cube placed on there. So take a black that you have in your pile, trade it in, and then go ahead and place a red cube on there. On a future turn, you'll go ahead and move it to the Golgi apparatus again. And once again, you're going to go ahead and put a green cube on here for the carbohydrate. And then on one more future turn, you'll go ahead and play it into the plasma membrane over there. And then you can lay this card down, and then you'll take those off the transporter, pay the ATP, and then you'll get that amount of health. Now you also have what are called the enzyme synthesis cards, and these look like this. If you decide to play one over here, if you happen to have a card like so, and you're able to go ahead and pay the cost immediately after placing that there, you will go ahead and just lay this card down, pay these cubes, and then this ATP, and then you'll go ahead and get this amount of points. Now for this particular card, you'll get more points if you have sets of them. So if you have 2 by the time the game ends that you've completed, you'll get 2 points, 3 for 5, 4 for 9, etc. And then you'll also be able to place a flask over here, and this is going to allow you to get a card and put it in your hand, and you'll just simply pay the cost that's listed. For this one, it's free, so you don't have to pay anything, but the others have this much ATP. And after the round ends, what you'll do is you'll take 2 cards out, and this is for the 2-player game, move these 2 over, and then you'll just simply add 2 more cards over there like so. Now the way the flasks go is that you're going to be alternating where you put the flask. So player 1 can put a flask over here and do that, and then player 2 can go ahead and place a flask over here and carry that out, and then player 1 can go again and then place the flask here and carry that out, etc. So let's just kind of go through a round real quick just to kind of show you how it works here. So we got cards in our hand. We'll go ahead and turn over the event card, and this says add 1 additional ATP to the mitochondria, so we'll go ahead and add an ATP there. So anybody who lands on this is going to get the extra ATP. Now in the beginning, everybody's going to get a certain amount of ATP depending on where their position is in the game, and they're also going to be able to choose 2 free resources. They can choose black, the ATP, or the yellow. So let's just say it's my turn, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play one here, and I'm going to place one of my chips here on this goal marker over here. And then player 2 goes, and he says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play over here and collect 3 of the ATP, like so, and he'll go ahead and collect 3 ATP. And then player 1 goes again, and let's just say he decides, okay, I have a black cube, I'm going to go ahead and trade it in for a red, like so. And then the next player goes, and let's just say he decides he's going to go ahead and play one over here, and he'll trade in 2 of these ATP for 2 carbohydrates, like that, and so on. So anyway, after everybody has placed their flasks, you're going to go ahead and remove all the flasks, and the discs are going to stay where they are, and then you'll flip over the event card, and then you'll go again, and you'll just keep going until all the event cards have run out and you've used the last one, and then you're going to count up your points. And the way the point value works is you're going to get, of course, score any of the points that you have over here. For any sets of the enzyme cards that you have, you'll score those. So again, if you have, like, depending on how many sets you have, you'll get that many points. Also for the alcohol detoxification cards, you'll score like this if you happen to have the most. The second most will have this. In a 2-player game, the scoring is different, but this is the way that card works. And you'll also score depending on how many of these cubes that you have. For every 4 black cubes, you'll get 1 point. For every 4 yellows, you'll get a point. For every 3 reds, you'll get a point. And then for every 2, you'll get a bonus point as well. You'll also score points if you've met the requirements for the gold card. This one says gain an additional 2 points for each protein hormone you completed this game. So you'll count out all your protein hormones that you've gotten, and you'll gain 2 points for each of those for that particular card. And each card's different. So anyway, you'll total all that up, and whoever has the most points by the end of the game is going to win. And that, folks, is Cytosis. So my final thoughts on Cytosis. Well, Genius Games is becoming one of my favorite game companies. I love their games, and every game that they have sent me has been great. And this one is a really good game. If you are a fan of worker placement games, I think you're really going to like Cytosis. The rules are pretty easy to learn once you kind of get them. And one of the cool things about this game is it's based on biology. It's based on actual biology. And you don't have to really know anything about cells to really enjoy this game. But I found that you learn as you play more about cells and more about biology when you play these types of games. You can usually just start with the color of the cubes and just match them like that, as opposed to having to know all of the scientific information, but you'll get to understand the scientific information as you play the game. I think it's a really cool game. The game plays really well. You've got a lot of options as far as cards, as far as types of cards, as far as where you want to place your flask, and then you have the gold cards, and then the different bonuses. Really solid game. I really like the way Genius Games takes things from biology and science and makes them into really solid games. This is a really good game, I think, and I think you cannot go wrong by getting this game. So guys, that's my review of Cytosis. We'll see you later. Keep on gaming.